That's probably me and my daughter's talking.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Myra, can you hear me?
Yes, I can
Okay.
hear you.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Katie, and welcome to the Greenland Quilter channel. And as you can see, I was having a little bit of uh, typical tech difficulties, but I have fixed it. I realized what I did wrong, and I fixed it. And here we are right now. So I have with me Dani and Myra, and this is our once a month mental health live that we do. And I have asked both Dani and Myra to come up with a topic for tonight. And so what I'm going to do is Dani is going to update us on her situation, and then Myra is going to talk to us about what we're going to talk about today. So go ahead, Dani.
Yep, sorry. I was just trying to get into chat. I will try and get into chat in just a second. Hi, everybody. Good evening. Welcome back. I have been looking forward to this particular series for a while now. I appreciate everybody coming back. Oh, that is gorgeous. Sorry. Wow. So distracted. I told you guys a few weeks back that, or actually back in January, I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on kind of what's been going on with me. It's one of those things where, say as I do, say as I do as I say, not as I do, type of a situation. Um, I told you guys back in January that I went on a new medication again. I've decided that all of the things that I was trying to do just weren't putting me in the place that I wanted to be in. So I worked with my doctor. This is something that's kind of normal for me. It's an up and down thing with me, on and off, on and off, on and off throughout the years. And so I went on a new medication. I was on that one for about 7 weeks, and then my doctor and I both decided that it wasn't quite right for me. It wasn't really doing what I wanted it to do, and that's why they make so many other options out there. And so I switched over to a different medication, and now I've been on that particular medication. Now I'm on week 5 of that one. And now with any medication, you want to give it at least 6 to 8 weeks before you really decide whether it's working for you or not, because after 6 or 8 weeks is usually when all the side effects kind of calm themselves down, and that's when you're able to actually be able to see what the medication is doing for you. With these types of medications, they're kind of slow going medications. It's not like, when you take something for cold, it doesn't knock it out right away. It's a slow burn. And so you really have to be patient with it, and be aware of kind of everything that's going on around you, because it can make things worse. And so it's important to remember that. Good news so far is that this medication is not making anything worse. So that's always a plus sign. And I don't want to say that it's necessarily making anything better. Well, I guess it kind of is, because with the other medication, I was noticing all the things that still weren't working, things that were still out there, things that that I didn't like, or things that feelings I had, thoughts I had, things like that, different side effects, things like that. Whereas with this one, I'm not noticing anything. And I don't mean that in a bad way, like I'm still having all these negative thoughts or having all of this, this negative energy and things that I'm trying to counteract. I don't notice that I'm having it at all anymore. So that to me is a good thing. That actually means that it is working. The other thing that I've noticed, and Mr. Wizard has been a testament to this, is I keep forgetting to take it. And that's because I'm not thinking about it anymore. And if I'm not thinking about it, that means it's doing what it's supposed to do, and I'm not focused on it. It's not that I forget to take it, I just don't forget to take it at the correct times. So I have set reminders on my phone, a couple of them now, to try and remind myself, because it is important that you take the medications at the same times every day. My doctor told me within a 30-minute window if you can. She said no more than an hour. Um, because otherwise it just throws off your balance. So I've been trying to do that, but that's things that I'm noticing. So I'm thinking I'm on the right track. But again, once I get to that 6 or 8 week thing, something might change again. So I'm still conscious about it. I'm still kind of aware of things, but this particular point in my journey, in my story, is the most critical, because especially because if anybody else has ever done this right now, because I'm forgetting to take it because it's working. So I'm not thinking about the fact that I need it, because I'm forgetting to take it because it is working. I have this like small thought in my mind that maybe I don't need to take it anymore because it's working, and that's the thought that you need to fight the most. Because the whole point of the whole reason that you are feeling better is because it's working. If I take or if I come off of it right now, then it will stop working, and then I'll be back to square one again. So with any medication that you're on, once you get to a point where you're like, oh, I don't really feel like I need this medication, make sure that you've been on it for at least 6 months to a year, because by then your body will have regulated to it, and maybe you're right, maybe you don't need it anymore. But if it's been less than 6 months to a year, then trust me, if you feel like you don't need it, it's just because it's working.
Yeah.
So that's my
That's a
biggest
good
advice
point.
to you if this is a journey that you're going to be going on yourself. And it's like the most dangerous right now because and I don't mean that like in a negative way. I just mean that in a making sure that I stay on this journey, that I remind myself that I need that. This is I don't need this, but this is working, and this is the path that I want to be on, and so I need to stay on this path.
Yeah.
For a little while, at least for 6 months, maybe longer than that. Typically, myself, I'm usually on these medications about a year to a year and a half before I come off of them again, because by then my body has regulated to whatever it was doing before, and it seems to work, and then I gradually come off of it. You always do things gradually, you never do them, hard stop. But it's a gradual slowdown of it, and then you kind of wait another 6 or 8 weeks and you see how you're feeling to kind of see, do
Yeah.
I need to go back on it or things like that. So I just wanted to make sure, a couple of people have reached out and asked me how things have been going with it, how I've been doing it, if I like it, what new medication I'm on, what are the side effects that I'm noticing, things like that. And I'm happy to answer any of those questions. But again, I am not your doctor. I will
Yeah.
tell you what my experience is. I will tell you what I am feeling, what I am going through, what I am seeing, but I am not you. So it's a very, very important that you understand that I'm happy to share with you my journey, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be your journey. But I still encourage everybody to have a journey,
Yeah.
to be aware of it and to start one. So I just wanted to give everybody a quick update. Like I said, I know I've gotten a couple of messages from a couple of people that have asked about it. So I wanted to make sure that I filled everybody in on that.
And if I understand with your situation, you said your issues are chemical, correct?
Yes, minor, not trauma based, although I have had some minor trauma in my life. Nothing to the extent like you have, Katie.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
more mine are more so chemical based than trauma based, although there is some, because of your body is going through something when you're dealing with trauma, it affects your hormones and then it can become a chemical thing as well. But mine is much more chemical based, and it's something that my hormones have been out of whack since basically I was 11 or 12 years old. It's
Yeah, I
just kind
wanted
of
to
something you
point
live
that
with.
out because maybe some people in the chat weren't aware that yours is a more of a chemical imbalance versus, like you pointed out, with mine is trauma made. So there
Yeah.
we
And I
all
think that's kind of one of the nice things, Katie, about this particular series that we've come across is between you and I, we have the two different types. I mean,
yeah,
there's other types than just these two, but these two are the most common when it comes to mental health issues. And they have to be they all have, they can all have severe side effects. They can all have severe um circumstances, but one
mhm,
of the things that's there, but are different ways that you can treat them. Treatments can be medication based, they can be psychiatrist or therapy based, they can be meditative based. I mean, there's those things can all help in different ways. It's just a matter of which combination of those things in which order is really what's going to work. So trauma, my combination of tools and how I'm doing things is going to be a little bit different than someone that's dealing with trauma based, because they have a different things that they have to combat first before they can get to the next thing.
yeah, yeah,
It's kind of like when you're making dinner, some people start on the vegetables first, while other people start on the protein first. Eventually, everybody gets to the same dish, but it's just a matter of how you start and how you get to the
Yep.
journey that you're on.
Before I turn this over to Myra, I'm going to say, acknowledge everyone in the chat, because Myra is going to take the lead today on a discussion. I'm not sure how many discussions we're going to, well, we have multiple subjects, but she's going to start out with a subject and we're going to have a discussion about that. And that's where we're going to start. So if any of you, while we're having this discussion, has a question or a comment, please do in the chat so that we can see it, and I'll let Myra know when something's said. So let me say hi to everybody. Nancy was here first. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Bill.
Well, he just told me I downloaded a virus to his computer. I'm sorry, babe.
It's locked up.
Well, I'm sorry. We'll take it. Okay, I'm live. We'll take it somewhere and deal with it. I'm sorry.
The only thing you downloaded was Zoom, right?
I'll bring you.
Yes, dear.
Hello, Sherry. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Laura Lee. Sherry says, I'm coming in for some peace of mind. Laura Lee says, hi, Sherry, peace of mind, not peace of, wait. Hi, Sherry, peace of mind, not peace of mind. So she wrote it two different ways. This should be fun. And then, hello, Linda Faust. She says, hello to all of us. We got Patricia Browning in here. Hello. Hello, the Bud Files. Hello, Rita. Welcome, welcome. We got Denise. Good evening to you. And then Rita was saying something about, she says, personally, when the side effects of the meds get worse after taking meds for 6 months, enough is enough. So now I take 0 meds and just deal with it. Some of us can't deal with it that way. SK Dammit says, beautiful shirt, Danny, and good advice. What meds? I don't think we're going to be talking about what kind of meds, because that's we're not doctors or nurses or anything else. So
no, and to be perfectly honest, I couldn't pronounce it if I tried.
Yeah. And then Danny says, Nancy asked, Danny, have you had a DNA testing to see if the meds will be good for you? And then, hey, Patty G, welcome, welcome. Denise says,
to answer the question about DNA testing, no, I didn't even know that was a thing. My doctor had not recommended that. So
no, that's an interesting question. And Denise says, keep the family close, don't isolate yourself. Okay, Myra, your turn.
Okay. So Danny, you didn't have a topic you wanted to deal with today?
that's all I wanted to do was just get everybody up to date on kind of what's been going on with me.
All right. Well, so I'm Myra. I actually am a mental health professional. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I am not here as your therapist. I'm not here as for counseling in any way, shape, form, or fashion. I do have to let you know, if you tell me you're going to hurt yourself or others, I am a mandated reporter, and I will do my level best to track you down and get you the help that you need if you express any of that to me. But that's just something that I have to live with in my 24/7 day-to-day real life, because once a social worker, always a social worker. So, you know, once a mandated reporter, I don't know if you're always, but I feel like I am. But anyway, so that's my little disclaimer for today. And one of the topics that I suggested a few, and one of the topics that they thought would be good for us to discuss is anger. Yeah. So anger is a natural human response when situations and events happen that are out of one's control. Kind of like me downloading a virus on my husband's computer and him not being happy about it. Yeah.
An excellent example.
Well, yeah. So my husband's take on it is he gives me this very stern look with his eyes to let me know how displeased he is. And then he turns around and he walks away. And yeah, that's going to be that. My husband is one of the most healthiest personalities I've ever seen when it comes to anger. He doesn't sweat the small stuff, and he really has a good take on what's small and what's not. And he doesn't take a lot of things personally. Q-tip, quit taking it personally. If you haven't heard that from me, that is a little acronym thing that I learned years ago, and I've loved it ever since, because if you quit taking it personally, it can't hurt you, and you can let things go easier. And the fact of the matter is, we think about our own selves way more than anybody else thinks about us. And I mean, it's the truth. We do. We only have our own context. So I'm going to plug in my phone, y'all. Hang on. We only have our own context, right? So excuse me just a minute. You know, like when I was a little kid, I need to lay this phone down. Hang on.
For some reason, this idea resonated with people in this part.
You're at the other house, aren't you?
Yes.
Or is this your new house, Myra? Well, I mean, new to you.
No.
This is the other house. This is the house that Nikolai and I've spent the night in.
I'm at the home that we own, that we are paying a mortgage on.
Gotcha.
Yeah, hang on. I don't know what's happening. Hang on. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'll unspotlight you until you're done.
Yeah, please unspotlight me.
So while Myra's fixing her phone for a minute, how's everybody doing? Let us know how you're feeling and how you've been doing, and what you got going on in your lives. Since this is the type of discussion we're having. So Myra showed me the subjects, and I definitely wanted to talk about how to diffuse anger, because that's very hard for me sometimes.
I think it's hard for all of us sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, and she mentioned something about she just mentioned a minute ago about how we think a lot about ourselves more than we think we do. And one of the things I am trying really hard to start doing is not go into defense mode the minute I hear something that doesn't hit me the right way. Or
yeah.
Myra knows
the
from my
Q-tip,
history,
as she mentioned it. Yeah.
And Myra knows from my history, it's super hard for me to not go into defense mode, or a word will trigger me. And it don't take, and some words I don't know they're triggers until they actually happen, and then automatically the little anger beast wants to come rearing its little ugly head up. You ready? You want me to take you back?
I love that.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm ready.
Okay.
Anger beast. I love that.
I'm happy we're going to be talking about how to diffuse anger.
Yeah.
So one of the things I was going to tell y'all was, when I was a little kid, and my mother would be getting on to me because I was not the perfect child. I wasn't. I was very strong-willed. Imagine that. And so my mother would be, verbally getting on to me, and I would be in my mind saying things like, nanny, I think you're silly. I think you're whatever. You can't even hear me thinking this. And I thought I was special. I didn't know that those are called thoughts, and everybody has them. So yeah, we all have thoughts, and sometimes those thoughts are reactions that we have.
Yeah.
So, anger is just one of the emotions that we all feel at some times. And unless addressed, anger can really, really do a number on your interpersonal relationships. And and erode them terribly. If you're blessed enough, like I am, to have had a father and to have a husband that is so laid back that, you know, you have to do an awful lot to really
Yeah. Same
push
with
that anger.
Nikolai.
And it's just kind of like Nico too. You
Yeah.
really, I mean,
You really have to push the boundary.
yeah, but if you push it, you need to run fast because
Yep.
it's not pretty. But so when it's not addressed, it exacerbates depression. Anger exacerbates depression, domestic violence, child abuse, verbal outbursts, fighting, excessive use of substances are some examples of not appropriately dealing with your anger. If anybody would please like to stop me at any point and discuss anything, I'm happy to do so. I do not have chat. I'm not seeing any responses. So I'm counting on Katie and Danny to, you know, stop me and,
Yeah.
you know, interrupt me or whatever you need to do.
I'm about to interrupt you for a minute. So
Okay.
Sandra says, Katie, we're human. I agree. It's important to find a good, healthy balance. But then Nancy says, I'm doing some better since I stopped being mad about my husband dying. So there's an emotion
Good for
out there
her.
that can make you angry. So yes, please talk to us. And hi, Jess. Go ahead, Sissy.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, all right, I've already covered the things about, you know, what are my limits, and I want you to know that as far as I'm concerned, this is confidential, but really in reality, it's not, because this is a live stream. So please be aware that anything you say
The whole world's going to see it.
is going to be out there forever. So please think about what you want to say or want to type in chat before you do it, because this is live and it is being recorded and it can be replayed over and over and over again. So I want to read to you a quote. And this is one of my favorite ones. Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else, but you're the one who gets burned.
Oh, that's
I
a
like
great
that.
quote. Wow. That's deep.
The author of that quote is Buddha, who was a monk, a sage, a philosopher, a teacher, and a religious leader. Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal, intending to throw it at somebody, but it's you that gets burnt.
I like that.
Yeah, that's a great quote. I'm gonna have to put that on
Because
Facebook.
it's true. I mean, when you hold on to the anger, it's the only person that's really upset about it is you.
The thing with anger is it can literally consume you if you're not careful when you're and you know I'm in a really better place right now. I'm not as angry as I was 6 months ago.
True.
But it took me a
Good.
while because I was so, and I finally realized what was making me, why I was angry, because, because I had to, what triggered it was what happened in my room. And,
Yeah.
and it took me a while to, well, why am I still mad even 2 years after it happened? And I realized I'm angry because number one, she took my control away by being dumb. And number two, because she's getting away with it. And I think that's more of the reason more than anything else. I think it's the fact that she's getting away with it. I think that's what made me madder, is because she was getting away with it.
Dang it, I hate it when you're so human.
But it took me a while to figure it out. It wasn't about the fact that right now my room's trashed. It was about the fact that she was getting away with it.
That there were no consequences for her, that there were only consequences for you.
Exactly.
Isn't that what you mean by she was getting away with it? It's
Yes.
not like
Yeah,
she
she did
didn't
take
go in and trash your room, but there were actions that she took
yeah,
that
it was
caused that to happen.
her decision, yeah, her decision not to do what most human beings would do, and then take responsibility for when it did cause something because of her lack of responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is anybody in the chat explaining what that quote means to you, or how it resonates with you, or if it does or if it doesn't? And I'm sorry, I'm holding my phone in my hand and my hand goes to sleep, and so sorry.
You need a phone stand.
Yeah, well,
Gonna have to order you one.
so is anybody saying anything about if that resonates?
Now, what do y'all think about the quote? Let her know. We're gonna have a little bit of a delay while we're waiting.
Okay, so while we're waiting, we're going to talk a little bit more about anger, what it is, how we express it, how life can affect or provoke anger in certain situations. So I know there's a lag, but I don't want to go on to any of these until if somebody had a comment or something about the quote, they have a chance to express that.
So far, the only thing I'm seeing is from Nancy, who just says that is so true.
Okay. Anger, like all of our emotions, does serve a purpose. It's designed to get us to respond to something that is or seems dangerous or is important to us, right? Some emotions are okay and culturally acceptable for us to show, and others are not. And so sometimes anger will mask other emotions, disappointment or shame or embarrassment.
Mine is hurt.
Hurt, very, very real.
Yeah, that one is the one that resonates with me the most.
What did you say it was?
Hurt.
Hurt, yeah. I think what in the grander scheme of just regular kind of anger, when I get upset and I cry, the crying makes me angry.
So anger may be a way to hide another emotion. And so when you're crying, that makes you angry because, you know.
Terry, I like that. Terry says, I have had it put this way. It's like hugging a potbelly stove. You hurt until you let it go, then you start to heal.
Oh, that's great.
Nice.
That's a nice
like
one,
that one,
Terry.
too.
Nice.
I like that one too.
I do too.
Hi, Raven.
So we can't always help the emotions we have, but we can influence how we manage those emotions. Does anybody disagree with that?
I don't.
Repeat that one more time, Myra. I'm sorry, I wasn't really listening.
We cannot help the emotions we have, but we can influence how we manage those emotions. And although we cannot help when we experience anger, we can make choices about whether to express it, how we express it, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Me too.
Yeah.
If we choose to express it, we can choose when, how, and where to do so. Perfect example, Mr. Wonderful knows I'm on a live, and so rather than continue being upset about his computer, which is a righteous emotion, I did it, it's my fault, I have to own it. You know, he chose to give me grace and go back and watch whatever he's watching on the TV in the bedroom. So, you know, God bless him. And I mean that seriously. I'm so grateful for him. But anger is energy. It's neither positive nor negative. Okay.
Why
It's all about how we express it. The feeling
That's interesting that
itself.
it's neither positive nor negative energy.
It's how you follow through on it, that it becomes negative.
Hmm.
It can work for you or it can work against you.
That makes
Hey,
sense. Huh.
I had a situation during COVID. I actually was at SeaWorld, and SeaWorld had very definitive markers for 6 feet, and you were not allowed to move from one marker in a line to the next one until the people before you moved, right? And
Mhm.
so I was in line to ride the railroad, the train. And this lady with her children were behind us in line. And of course, the children were wild and running around and not really respecting the 6 feet. But I had on my mask and, you know, whatever. Well, the people in front of me moved. And before I had a chance to move, the woman behind me said, "Are you going to move or what?" And I looked at her and I went, "Yes, I am going to move." But I was waiting for them to get out, you know, to go ahead, get to the next marker. And she said, "Well, if you aren't going to move, I'm going to move in front of you." And I said, "Oh, no, you're not." And usually I am not that aggressive, but I was that day. We had lost 3 family members to COVID, and my mindset was nobody needs to mess with me right now.
Right.
We were at SeaWorld to decompress and to try to, you know, just have a little bit of quasi normalcy in this horrible time. And I said, "Oh, no, you're not." Well, this woman shoved me,
Oh, geez.
physically assaulted me, and knocked my phone to the ground.
Uh-oh. That's not cool.
I was pretty much in shock. I'm not a fighter. I didn't have brothers, and my sister and I never got into physical fights ever. Rarely did we even argue. I am just not really made that way. I've always wanted to, you know, I've always wanted to be somebody that could maybe punch or something, but that's just not how I
So
was
it's not
brought
that
up.
you've always wanted to fight, you've just always wanted to be the kind of person who could defend themselves physically.
Well, that's true. That's true too. But you know, I could have reacted in a lot of different ways, and I
Yep,
chose
you could have
not to
punched her
strike.
out and been all right about it.
I chose not to physically react to her. I chose to get on my phone and dial 911 after I picked it up off the floor.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And I did press charges against her. And,
Good.
you know, I didn't seek any restitution except that she have to attend anger management classes.
Yep.
And that's exactly what happened. And that was fine. She had 4 children that she was being an example to. And that wasn't what I wanted those kids to learn about. But
Oh
anyway,
gosh, no.
so, you know, you can have righteous anger. Uh, I had a right to be angry, but I also had the right to choose what I did with it and how I managed it.
Well,
If
you
you
had
grew up,
much more control over your anger than I would have.
well, but what is your background? What culture do you come from? Do you come from a culture where you have siblings that you guys physically got into it?
No, but I can't. I'm from the city.
Yeah, unfortunately, I did because when us girls would argue, instead of letting us work it out verbally between us, and some of y'all are not going to like what I'm about to say,
Excuse me.
instead of letting us girls work it out verbally, my father would make us stand and face each other and punch each other out. And so when we hit teenage years, instead of solving our issues between us verbally, we would literally fist fight. Because we were told, if you don't punch each other out, I'm gonna beat you.
Well, I mean that's what you were taught. I mean there's
Yeah, and so that's how
it's nature
so-
versus nurture. It's,
yeah, and so that's how we started our young lives out. Now, do I go around punching people out? No.
Because you
Do I
have
want to
learned
punch
that
people out
that is
sometimes?
not
Yeah.
that is not actually the correct behavior. Yeah.
No, well, I know that, but I'm just pointing out, you know, when kids are raised to work their problems out verbally, it's easier to manage your anger that way. But if you have no other way to manage it because you're being trained not to manage it,
Right, right, right.
yeah, and then when all this trauma, later in life piles up on top of your head, I've never hit anyone. Well, no, wait. I've only ever hit someone twice because it was a response to them hitting me first.
Good for you.
And when I hit them back, I didn't know I hit them back. I kind of like blacked out. And then when I came to, someone had a mark on their face.
So I want you to think about how you intentionally express anger. And when you express it, does it tend to be useful and effective or not? And we're going to pause right here and let people think about things. And maybe they want to type something in and talk to us.
And I have some stuff to read. Let me ask you a question too. Sometimes when I get mad or angry, I will go in and suddenly I'm this whirlwind of let's clean the hell out of the kitchen. Is that a response to the anger and a way to keep yourself from doing other bad things and you're doing it in a more better way, maybe?
Yeah, you betcha. Some people shut down, and I've seen you shut down.
Yeah, you have.
I have done that before myself. Yep.
I have to admit that I used to really have anger issues and temper issues. When I was younger, I'd fly off the handle in a heartbeat.
What's the difference between temper and anger? Aren't they both the same or no?
I don't know.
Good
Somebody
question.
Google it and tell us.
That's a good question.
I think temper is the physical reaction to an emotion.
And
Okay.
anger is
So-
the emotion.
And
You think?
anger is the emotion, I think, but that's just off the top of my head. Somebody Google it.
Okay, so Heidi says anger makes me walk more, so I'm getting fitter when I'm angry. And then Terry says
Good job.
that happened to her. Women behind her kept tapping her to move up, and I don't stand right on someone's back when in line. I told her not to touch me, and she mocked me. Who touches a stranger? Question mark. And then Raven says, Myra, it's not fun restraining yourself not to have a reaction. Yeah, because I have the same. For every action, there's a reaction. And a lot of times people react to an action instead of thinking about it before they react. And then Terry says, I said, no one is going to get in front of me. Don't tap me. And reason number 69, why I shop from home. And Heidi says, you did great. I'm so proud of you. And Raven says, oh my goodness, Katie, you were basically trained to react with anger. Yeah, pretty much. I just fortunately for me, I didn't do that to my kids. Nancy says, most of the time, not because I speak my mind now, because when I'm not allowed to say anything, anger, I walk away. Been hit way too much, I block or walk away. Been true a lot. So when I hear yelling, I freeze. Yeah, yelling freaks me out too, man.
Yeah, I can't go to my church that I raised my children in anymore because it's a very evangelical Pentecostal church, and they get excited, and often the pastor tends to raise his voice, and he's not yelling at us, he's not angry, but that's a trauma trigger for me, where my children's father used to get angry and yell and put his fist through the wall and stuff like that. And so I choose not to go to those type of churches now because it raises my anxiety. And even though I know they're not angry with me, I just, yeah, it's not a healthy place for me to be. So I don't go there anymore. You know, I need the calm, the Presbyterian, the Luther, the more intellectual,
Yeah.
less touchy-feely.
Yep.
You know, I mean, I love the evangelical Pentecostal. I love so much about it, but it also can be such a trigger for me that I can't.
Yeah.
So I just don't go.
Heidi says, I've been hit. No, that's put in the hospital several times in my life so far. I suffer from PDS. Did you mean PTSD or is there such thing as PTSS? I don't know.
It's PTSD.
Yeah, I thought it was PTSD like what I have.
Yeah, that's what she's saying, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I even though this isn't therapy, this is still not super easy for me to lead this group, this discussion. Because when I hear things like my dad made us do this, or I've been put in the hospital, that hurts my heart. And if I was being a therapist, I would say, you know, if my emotions are a trigger or a bother for you, you need to find another therapist. But this isn't therapy. So hang with me or not, you know, your choice. But you know,
I'm empathy.
I'm an empath, and I feel it, and I work through it. It's okay. I've been very successful as a therapist, but it's still there. You know, it's still there. So so all right. Um, do you know many of your triggers? Some of us do, some of us don't. Um, Anybody want to talk about that?
Do you know that slamming doors makes me angry?
Okay.
That's a trigger.
Okay.
And it's because of past trauma.
For sure.
Yeah. So I've discovered that some words are triggers that will make me angry because I hear it's like a flash across my eyes almost like ping, you know, and that's what I'm working on right now is trying to figure out a way around not letting words automatically make me pissed off, you know.
Okay. So anger has a physical component to it. It doesn't literally make our blood boil or see red, although
Yeah.
sometimes we may feel like we're seeing red
Yep.
and our blood is boiling. It does cause changes in our bodies. What physical responses do you notice when you're becoming angry?
That's a good
My
question.
hands shake.
Your
Your
hands
hands shake?
shake?
If I'm really, really angry, my hands start to shake.
Well, Katie cries. We know that.
Yep, I sure do. And then that just makes me even angrier.
I do get
Did,
emotional, but I don't actually like cry. Like I just like tear up, but my hands actually shake.
It's the strangest thing that happens when it happens to me because I start out, you know, whatever's making me mad, and I don't know if it's something to do with I don't know what triggers the tears, but whatever triggers it, then it's like I need to be sucking it up, and I feel like I'm weak because I cry, which turns around and makes me very angry, even more angry than I was.
did you know that adrenaline, testosterone, and other chemicals actually increase when we're angry? That's a proven scientific data fact. The heart pumps faster. Blood pressure does rise. That's why sometimes you feel like your blood's boiling. Blood flow can move away from unnecessary functions to help with those functions that will help us in fight or flight, and muscles tense. I
Yeah.
know when I'm getting angry, my shoulders raise up and I have to consciously
Yep.
breathe in and relax. So what about any of you all? Are you guys typing in the chat? Are you telling me things? I wanna know.
Terry
Terry
says
says she gets
she gets
flushed.
flushed. Heidi
A
says
lot of
higher
people.
heart
Jinx.
rate. Nancy says mine is someone trying to tell me how I feel when they are totally wrong. And hey, Mona from Rip It and so on. Let's see. Nancy says she cries, same like, and then Heidi says same like me. And then Terry says, you know, how you react has a lot to do with your belief system. I don't know if that's so or not. I don't know. And then Mona says she turns into She-Hulk. Oh boy.
I love that.
And then Heidi says, I'm in constant fight or flight. I don't know what mode. Oh, fight or flight mode since 2014.
That stress is not the healthiest place to be.
No.
It really, really isn't. Babe, will you turn on the light? Turn that light on for me. No, the other one, right there.
Ivy
Well,
quiet.
babe didn't do it. Okay. He turned the overheads. That's fine. But
Hang on, I'm going to mute that.
Be quiet.
What light?
that one, but it's okay, babe. Thank you.
Gotta
Yeah,
be
you want to
quiet.
turn that one on as well, please? Where the piano used to be? Thank you.
Don't get any of these.
He's
No.
watching things that are stupid that makes him laugh really loud.
That's all right. He's allowed.
So that's why you keep hearing him laugh. It's because he's watching something that makes him
You
think
know what? It's better than yelling.
that's right.
Laughter is the best medicine.
Through that.
Rippet says she loves it. You get to like
Over here you hear my puppy whining at me because I have I do apologize if you guys see me snacking over here. I kind of skipped dinner. So I have a little bowl of sesame chips, peanut M&Ms, and some peanut butter and peanut butter pretzels.
I think what I love about
Nice
my
and-
viewers
nice
is
and
nobody
healthy
cares
snack.
whether you're eating or not.
But the peanut butter pretzels is why this one keeps whining at me because those are her two favorite things put together.
Terry says, well, for me, what I believe helps me control my behavior. And
Okay.
And then Heidi says, I know it's unhealthy, but a pulse of 210 is deadly. Yeah. That's pretty high.
210. Wow.
And then
that's really
Mona
high,
says,
yeah.
yummy snacks. Okay. So we're caught up. Sissy.
Yeah, I do
All right.
apologize for the snacks on the camera. I don't normally do that.
We don't, it's okay. You don't have to apologize for that. I don't have a problem. I definitely, what you're going to have a problem with is all the laughing we got going on over here. Myra is still on spotlight, so we can see you eating. Oh yeah, they can't see you eating anyway because Myra's
perfect.
on spotlight. I haven't turned it
Oh,
off
perfect.
because she's leading the topic right now.
Works for me then.
Keep on going, sissy.
So let's talk about anger basics. There's four that four areas: our thoughts, our behaviors, our physical reactions, and our moods. Okay. I'm going to read some things to you, and I want you to jot down any that apply to you. And then if you want to add any to any of these, that'll be fine. So we're going to talk about these descriptions that fit your expressions of anger. Okay. So in thoughts, it's others are threatening or hurtful. Rules have been violated. Others are treating me unfairly. Why am I on the defensive when I'm right? Why aren't they listening to me?
Mm,
The last two fits me.
yeah.
Myra knew that was going to be said. The last two definitely is me. Sometimes the other one you mentioned about rules, that one's the other one that tends to get me riled up.
I'm following the rules, dagnabbit. Why aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Pollyanna in me. Yeah.
It's like,
Did anybody have any other thoughts in the chat that that when they're angry that go through their mind?
yeah, let's hear what y'all have to say about her. Reread the whole thing again so they can hear it again.
Others are threatening or hurtful. Rules have been violated. Others are treating me unfairly. Why am I on the defensive when I'm right? Why aren't they listening to me?
Yeah, those last two are the ones that I deal with the most, I think, especially in my corporate job.
Especially the last one. Why am I not being heard? Why do I have to be quiet?
Mine is why am I defensive when I'm the one that's right?
Let's see. Nancy says the last two. And then Heidi says, when my boundaries are not taken into consideration. So that probably fits in one of those.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, Nancy.
And Heidi says the last one for sure.
Well,
So
we all
I'm not
want to
the
be
only one
listened
that
to.
feels like that about.
No, you're not. You're not. You're gonna see in all of this that we are not singular and alone. Okay. So let's go to physical reactions. Tight muscles, increased blood pressure, upset stomach,
Yep.
increased heart rate, and clenched fists. I want to add, not for me, but for my children's father, clenched jaws. When I saw his jaws jumping,
He was angry.
yeah, I knew it was about to hit the fan and I wasn't going to like it. What kind of physical reactions? Are there any others that you all want to add?
Mine is my chest gets tight. And Sherry says, think it is when you, think it's when you don't feel you're heard. She thinks she agrees with that statement too. But physically, I would say it's my chest. I have tight chest. And the other is sometimes I clench my fist. The others, the others about the heart rate and stuff, I don't know. Anyone else? Heidi says all but the last two. And then Raven says his eye color would change when green would change from green to bright blue. Wow. And Mona says her stomach gets upset and her jaws are clenched. Yeah. And Nancy says my mom's eyes would giggle. Or is that supposed to be wiggle?
Maybe it's wiggle, yeah.
And Laura Lee says she gets nervous and can't think straight. Oh, that's another one. I can't think straight when I'm angry. Thank you for that one, Laura Lee, because that's definitely one. And Raven says my heart rate goes up. Yeah, that I can't think straight thing. It makes your brain like turn to this muddle thing. Right.
Thank you for all the feedback, guys.
Yeah.
This makes this work. Your feedback, your contributing, and I know it's a pain in the butt to type it, but thank you so much. Your contributing makes this keep going well. Let's go to behaviors.
Nancy says she gets shingles. That's
Yes, stress brings
wow.
on shingles, and anger is a stress reaction. So, yeah.
And then Raven says, my brain goes into overdrive. And then Heidi says, yes, my husband's face changed for sure around his eyes. Then I knew, oh, wow. And
Yeah.
then Mona says, good one, Laura Lee. Wow, see, we got some good answers here.
All right. So let's go to behaviors. All right. Ready?
Yep.
Behaviors: defend or resist, attack or argue, withdraw to punish or protect. I'm going to repeat that one. Withdraw to punish or protect, and shut down.
Oh boy. 3 of them fits me. The defend and resist thing instead
Yep.
of just walking away. Withdrawing to protect. Yep. And the shutdown is definitely a classic for me. I shut down completely.
Unfortunately, I argue. Not good.
Yeah.
Although y'all saw today, I didn't argue with Bill. I accepted. I owned it, apologized, and I'm gonna fix it. He's not happy that I messed up his computer, and I'm not happy that I did either, but it happened.
So
You know?
Nancy says all of them, Myra. Mona says 100% shut down.
Oh.
I'm waiting on more answers here. This makes me
So
feel
does
better
it
that I'm not the only
shutdown,
person that
Myra,
does
does that mean
shutdowns.
like you just you kind of go mute, but you're still processing it, or does that mean that you like ignore it basically?
My shutdowns happen where I don't talk, I don't say anything. I probably won't do a whole lot of anything. I'm like a bit of a vegetable, maybe.
But
I
you're still
think
replaying
withdraw.
whatever the situation is over in your mind, like feeding it
Well,
more energy, basically.
I think the withdraw is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think the shutdown is what Katie's talking about, but the withdraw is what you're talking about.
Yeah, the
Okay,
withdrawals where you
okay,
just, yeah, because there's 2 different things, and I've done both. The shutdown's the one that ends up being the negative impact on my life because I totally
Yeah.
stopped doing everything that I love to do.
Right. Let's go to moods if nobody else has any other comments.
See, wait a minute.
Nancy says, "Talk to the hand." I like that.
Terry says, just leave, not to punish, just to not hold on to it. And then Mona says, I'm a lover, not a fighter. And then Nancy says, I got where I hold my hand up and walk away. That's really the hand, like, enough. That's a great one. Yeah.
All right, so let's go to moods. Upset, frustrated, enraged, worried.
Oh my God, those are all of mine. Depends on the situation, but all of them.
I'd like to add scared.
Yeah, fear. I think
Yeah.
fear.
Because that can kind of go along with the worry, but yeah.
To me, the fear has been the most biggest manipulation in my life, I think.
Yeah, you've had some manipulation, that's for sure.
I didn't even know it was my sister that put the fear word into it, saying that's how he controlled us. I didn't even realize that. She realized that. Interesting. Raven is frustrated. Heidi says, when I get angry, I warn people. At least you do that. Jerry says, if someone's intent is to hurt you, leave. Protect yourself for hurt from physical and emotion. And then Raven had said frustrated. Mona says all of the above. Heidi says worried makes me angry. Lord Lee says hurt. And then Nancy says it starts and goes through all of them. She goes through all of them.
All right, this is going to be, I think this is going to be fun. I want you to only think about behaviors, and I'm going to repeat them when I'm finished giving instruction, okay? But I want you to go back through and do this activity that we've been doing, thinking about someone you're close to, their reactions, but we're only looking at the behaviors, and think about that person's typical way of expressing anger. And I'm going to read the behaviors: defend or resist, attack or argue, withdraw to punish or protect, and shut down. Everybody think of a loved one that you're around a lot and how their behaviors are to anger.
Wow. Can you reread them again?
Defend or resist, attack or argue, withdraw to punish or protect, and shut down. Now, Mr. Wonderful, he withdraws. And I think that's to protect me. But
so does Mr. Wizard, yeah.
I think I agree with the withdrawal too, for protection.
and I think that is pretty darn healthy, I think.
Yeah.
You know, that you have enough self control that you can do that.
Yeah.
Did anyone notice that their loved one has similar or different ways of expressing anger? And how might this affect your interactions or communications with one another?
It's definitely a struggle with Mr. Wizard and I with regards to communication, because we both do have this basically the same ways of dealing with it with regards to that. So I often have to kind of force the issue and you know, force communication and be like, we have to talk this through. We can't just let this fester, you know. We've got to work through this.
Yeah, and with Nikolai, I had to learn the difference between being annoyed and anger, because he doesn't really get angry. His is more of an annoyance, and I've had to learn the difference, because when the first time he displayed what I thought was anger was actually he just got annoyed. But I thought he was mad at me, and I'm walking around like I'm on eggshells, and he's like, "What is wrong with you?" Well, and when I said nothing, first it was me saying nothing, because I was, you know, trying to hide, I guess. And then he pushed it and he says, "Come over here and tell me what's wrong with you." I'm like, "You're angry at me." And he's like, "What?" I said, "But this happened." He says, "I forgot about that 5 minutes after it happened." And I wasn't angry, I was annoyed. So I've had to learn the difference. So he's really never actually gotten angry at me. Okay, let's see what they're saying in here.
Angry with me either.
Heidi said she's only known attack. When I get angry, please let me cool down. That's what she says.
Cooler heads will prevail. I am with you, Heidi. Yeah, usually I need some quiet time to work through my own emotions and get the emotions out of me so that I can actually have a civil conversation about it.
Yeah, and then Laura Lee says defend or resist. And then Heidi says she's had to learn that too, talking about the difference between anger and annoyance.
This is a heck of a mess, isn't it?
This is going really well. Anyone else want to say something? Looks like it stopped again.
Looks like what stopped again?
The chat.
Oh,
You know, the one.
people may just not be very chatty tonight. That's okay.
And they may have answered all the, yeah. Okay, so we can move along. Wait a minute. Heidi says, I lived on eggshells way too long. Yeah, it's no fun.
No, it's not.
You shouldn't have to live your life like that.
Nobody. Are you guys ready to go to some anger management skills?
Sure.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Does anybody have anything they'd like to discuss before we move on to some skills that can be used as tools to control and manage our anger?
1, 2. Let's see if anyone answers. Why do men, while we're waiting on an answer, do you think men have more of a short fuse than women, or do you think it's equal on both ends?
Oh, I think it depends upon how you were raised, your culture. You know, some cultures are known for being more quick-tempered, more prone to anger.
Mm-hmm.
Something I don't see much of around here in Greenland. There is hardly any kind of anger going on between Greenlanders. It's
No.
amazing because neighbors don't even argue with neighbors. It's a different culture altogether over here.
Wow.
Yes. And
No
I
one-
would love to get to know a Greenlandic family, a native Greenlander family, well enough to know how they've raised their children, how they've been raised, because I think that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things I saw on one of the videos when, with all the discussions been going on the last almost 2 years, one thing a Greenlander said that really struck a chord with me is, you may think that we are pacifists. We are not. We are just a quiet spoken community of people who love their country, love nature, love family, love their friends. We don't get up in people's faces. We just love the peace of all of it. And that is
That's awesome.
so deep.
Yeah,
And yeah.
very.
But if we have to stand up and protect our country, we will do it.
Yes. But in a very respectful way,
Yeah,
from what
because
I saw.
because they truly believe that people should be respectful with one another, not tread on each other's rights and stuff. So it's been a really interesting thing over the last almost 15 years of me watching how people react. Mona says she thinks she's more of a pissy. And Raven says, Heidi, it sounds like your skin still crawls and prickles a lot from random things. And then Nancy says, wow, that is awesome. Okay. And Heidi says, I need to move. Yeah, come to Greenland. Go ahead, Sissy.
All right, so I want to give credit to Doctors Fiona and Novik's anger management techniques, because this summary that I've got 6 skills, and I'll read one and then we'll discuss it if you want, if there's any discussion needed. And they're from them, and it's angermanagementgroups.com. Okay. There's nothing new under the sun, and I'm not making all of this up on my own. Just want y'all to know that. So I want to give credit where credit is due. So, skill number 1 is recognize stress. If you can successfully recognize when you're getting stressed before it develops into anger, you can more easily prevent that anger. Develop and practice methods to reduce stress to keep it from moving into anger. For example, directed relaxation is a great way to reduce stress in your life. and can be as easy as simply listening to music. What are some other stress busters you can try or you have used? And y'all know I'm a breather. I'm really into breathing in and breathing out.
Well, I think the way I coped with it when I was in Florida is I was outside in the digging all the time, planting and
Yes,
doing.
yes.
That was my total escape. And the other was getting out and taking a horse out and going in the middle of a pine forest and just ride and veg out and block the whole world out. Over here, sewing's one of them, but sometimes what works even better for me if I can get outside to do it is take my butt out to the lake, out into nature, or down to the harbor to see icebergs. A lot of times that just helps me tune everything else out.
So just nature in general.
Yeah, I love communing with nature. There's something peaceful about it.
There can be.
I have a hammock on a stand that is in our camper that we take with us. And one of my favorite things to do, excuse me, one of my favorite things to do is to lay in the hammock under the trees
Yeah.
and just look up at the leaves and watch them move, because they almost always move. Very
Yep.
rarely are they
Yep.
absolutely still. It's not so easy to do when you're surrounded by pine trees, but if I'm in a place that has trees with leaves,
Mhm.
which we actually don't have a whole lot of in Florida where I'm from, we have a lot of pine trees, but to just lay back and just watch those leaves move, that is such a stress reducing activity for me.
You remember when we were in Clearwater and I was laying on the grass, and you remember right there at that pier where they had the Bismarcky palms going all the way around it, and I was laying on the grass and I was barefooted. You remember that? That was peaceful for me.
You were grounding with your
I
feet on the
was,
ground. You were grounding. That is
and I
wonderful.
forgot what palm, and I could hear the rustle of the palm fronds with the leaves, and I was just absolutely in heaven in that moment. It's a great experience because I had missed what they sounded like.
Yes. Well, you forget.
Yeah.
You do forget.
All right, we have some answers in the chat.
Yay.
Music's the other thing. Crank up the music. It's funny. I'm going to say this and then I'll read that. One of the things I notice when I'm really in a bad mood or having a bad day or just I'm sad for no reason whatsoever, I'll go in there and crank the music up in about 5 to 10 minutes. And Nikolai will even tell you this. Sometimes I will start singing first, or if I'm sitting on the edge of the bed and he knows I'm moping and I turn the music up, within 5 minutes, my butt is bouncing on the bed.
Oh boy.
I completely forgot what had me in the bad mood.
Music soothes the savage beast. I think there's some
Yep.
truth in that.
Yep. Let's see.
My hand is asleep,
Raven
y'all.
says, wait, Heidi says, I love my nature walks. Breathing helps me and praying, says Nancy. Heidi says music. Heidi says she prays a lot. Uh-oh. Something just happened. Raven says she likes to garden or quilt. Heidi says just the sound of leaves make it all wonderful. Nancy says she loves watching clouds. That's fun to do too. And Heidi says, me too, Raven. Been working in my garden these last days. I love it. Nature. So it looks like a lot of people get outside for this.
All right, so let's go to number 2. Develop empathy. The ability to see things from another person's viewpoint is an important means of managing anger. This skill uses the perspective of others to reduce your anger. The development of empathy also aids in building better relationships with others. What are some ways you can practice seeing things from other people's perspectives? And I'd like to give a real world take on that one right there.
Yeah, please do.
I am a lot like my mother in the car. If somebody cuts me off or doesn't let me in, my first reaction is to, just kind of blow up.
Start screaming at them.
Well, I'm not going to say I scream,
I have.
but words have been said.
Yep.
Signals have been given. I didn't know my
Hand
children knew what the
gestures.
Japanese good luck sign was until one of my 8-year-old son said, "Mom, why are you giving them the Japanese good luck sign?" And if you all don't know, it's in between these fingers, these 3. Yeah.
Flipping the bird.
Well, yeah, that too. So, but the other day I was driving and I wanted to get over and nobody would let me in and I was getting a little frustrated. And then I thought, what if one of these people are on their way to the hospital, or what if one of these people are on their way to emergency, or really, I mean, maybe they're not just being little beeholes, maybe there's reasons. And that just calmed me down and made me less negative and nasty.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a real world example.
Yeah. That is. I have to think about that one. Can you restate the question again?
What are some ways you can practice seeing things from other people's perspective? I just showed you one that I did, or I talked about it.
Heidi, you and me both, honey. I love to cuddle my pets too. Especially when things are not going my way.
I know
Uh,
sometimes Nikolai watches videos that has to do with things that people do, and I'm like, you don't know the whole, and the videos only show what they show, and he'll believe a lot of those videos. And I said, you're only seeing one side of a story. You don't know what the other person that this person's making fun of was going through to get to this person to that point.
right.
So there is situations where when someone acts like a what, there might be a reason why they're acting like a what. Maybe someone did something to them at home, or not. People are not always nasty to each other just because they want to be. Now a lot are, but not all.
Yeah,
It's
we
hard.
don't always know the rest of the story, and
Yeah.
sometimes we never will.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes it's difficult for us as humans sometimes to remember that there is another or the rest of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
something I think we all need to learn, is there's always another side of a story.
Correct.
Well,
Everyone has one, yep.
people say that hindsight is 20/20, and I disagree with that, because to
Yeah.
me 20/20 is perfect vision. And I don't think hindsight is 20/20. I think there's three versions of every story. My version, your version, and then the absolute truth, which is
Yep.
somewhere in between both of them.
Yep. I agree with
I
that.
don't know. All right, you ready to go to number 3?
Yes.
Respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively.
Oh my God, that's so hard not to do.
People with anger issues are quick to react instead of responding intentionally. When you respond thoughtfully, you think first and effectively communicate your feelings. When you react impulsively, you're not thinking rationally.
No, and
You're,
you're going to say things you regret later.
you're simply reacting instinctively to the situation or a small part of it, or to what other person has done.
Yeah.
So while you mull that over, the question for this skill is, what are some ways you can stop yourself from reacting impulsively?
Oh, this is a good one.
One of my things I'm trying to do now is learn to turn around and walk away and not say anything. and think about it first.
Hard to do.
Yeah, and I did that the other night during the middle of the live. I walked out for like 2 minutes because something was going on in the chat. And instead of me defending myself, I decided, no, I'm not going to defend myself. I'm just going to go in there and breathe for a minute.
There is an old gospel song sung in quite a few Pentecostal churches and some Baptists too. And it's victory, victory shall be mine, if I hold my peace and let the Lord fight my battles. Victory, victory, it shall be mine. And my grandma always said, when lies, not if, when lies are told about you, those that know you won't believe them, and those that don't know you don't matter anyway.
That's a good point.
And that resonates with me.
Yeah.
That song is, yes, victory will be mine. I'm going to let God work this out because he knows the beginning and the end. Now, this is my faith base, not pushing it on you, but this is a coping tool that I use. And others have mentioned that they pray and that they have those sets of tools as well.
Yeah.
But, you know, that song and that thought from my grandma has stayed with me my whole life. And when I slow down to think about both of them, it always helps me. Always.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one. What about you, Dani?
Oh, I am not sure. The few deep breaths sometimes helps. At work, I've been struggling a lot with, the Q-tip, not taking things personally. So I've been trying to, and I told Myra this once before, but I've been trying to adapt her, changing my perspective. I can't remember what you call it right. Or something about
Reframing.
reframing. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've been trying to do that. I've been trying to, think about things from somebody else's perspective, or trying to flip the switch on, how I'm looking at things, that maybe they're not pointing, maybe this person isn't necessarily pointing out something that I'm doing wrong. Maybe they're pointing out a way for us to improve as a company. Maybe they're trying to help. Maybe they just don't understand. Maybe I need to explain it in a different way,
Yeah.
as opposed to them telling me that I'm doing it wrong. Maybe that's not, I need to think of the things from that perspective. um it's not easy. It's been a struggle for sure,
Yeah.
but it is helpful. I have noticed when I've done that my own kind of, blood pressure and everything kind of comes down, and I end up having a better day.
Oh, that's
But
great.
that's those are things that you have to. They take work. It's not, for me,
Yes.
it's not something that comes naturally, and so it's something that I consciously have to remember to do.
Do you think that sometimes if you capitulate to something, it's just another way of dealing with the problem and not instead of reacting to the problem? Just giving into it and just walk away and say, I'm not even going to waste my breath on it?
Well, that is one of the things that my mom has always taught me. That's one of the things that she's taught me, and one of the things I've been trying to teach my children is to choose your battles.
Yeah.
Some battles just aren't worth winning. It just depends on how important certain things are to you. One of the things that I've tried to instill in my kids, and things that my mom has instilled in me, is which is more important, the relationship or being right. And so that is one that I've always tried to instill, even in a corporate job, is pick your battles. Like, yes, the person didn't necessarily do it the way that you did it, but they still came to the same right answer. So is it really important that they do it exactly the way that you did it? Yes or no? You know what I mean? It's pick your battles, and choose which ones are more important to you, and let go
Good.
of the other ones. Let go of the smaller ones, because in the end, the only person that's really going to be upset about it is you. They're not going to be upset about it because they don't even know that they've done anything wrong. You know, they're just doing things the way they believe them to be accurate. So
Right.
that's kind of one of the things that I've lived by with regard to my mom, and it's something that she's always instilled in me is choose your battles. Which ones are important, which ones aren't. You're not always going to be right. This other person isn't always going to see things from your perspective or see things the way you see them. And just decide which ones are the more important ones, and which ones are really worth fighting about.
I used to have a real problem with the rule thing and the principle of the thing, and
Yeah.
and as I've gotten older, I really have let a lot of that go. It's is it going to matter in 3 days, 5 days, 5 years?
No.
Some things are, but some things aren't. And so, yeah. Do we have any comments in the chat?
So far, what I've seen has been, let me back up a little bit because I'm not sure which ones these are two. Raven says the flood in your hand and the kitty's walking around. Oh, that's how she, yeah. They're fluff. Oh, they're fluff in your hand and the kitty's walking against your leg. So that was something she enjoys, helps her. Heidi says, I agree with the 3 versions. And then she says, I learned with age. Heidi says, take a few breaths. Nancy says, that is how I react. Heidi says, good one. And then Nancy says, yes, that is so wise. And Heidi says, true, I'm learning how to keep my energy more to myself. And Mona says, dang, I kicked out for 5 minutes. I'm back. Sorry, sweetie. And Rita says she is still here just listening.
Great.
And then Mona says, after my parents died, I let lots of triggers go. Just not important to argue or worry about.
Yeah. All right, ready to go to number
Apologize if
4.
you guys are hearing a really loud machine. I'm working on a backup machine and it is much louder than my old one. So
We're
sorry
not
if
hearing
it's
it.
distracting.
Yeah,
Good.
we don't even hear it.
Good. I'm
All
glad
right.
because it seems really loud.
Number 4, we have 3 more. We're halfway done. We doing okay on time?
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah,
Yeah.
we're good.
All right,
Yeah, I
number
got about
4.
20 minutes.
Change your internal conversation. Your inner conversation has a major impact on your anger. Controlling and changing your thoughts is important in determining how you'll handle the situation. Negative, angry thoughts contribute to angry behavior. Neutral, calming thoughts do not. What are some ways you can change your thoughts when you encounter a situation that make you angry? And Danny's already mentioned a really, really big one.
Can you re-ask
What
the first?
What are some ways you can change your thoughts when you encounter a situation that makes you angry?
Reframing. Yay, I got it right.
Yes, reframing. That means looking at it from a different angle, having some empathy, as we talked about earlier. Yeah? All right. Let's go to number 5, if y'all don't mind. Oh, this one is good. Communicate assertively. Assertive as opposed to aggressive. Assertive communication involves speaking up about what is bothering you in a reasonable manner and tone of voice. This skill involves practicing effective communication and responding to things without getting hostile or angry about it.
Yeah.
Can you think of examples of this skill? Oh man, oh man, oh man. I have learned, rather than taking it personally and reacting impulsively and defensively, if somebody says something that really riles me up, Sometimes I have the intelligence and the wherewithal to say to them in a non-defensive and non-accusatory tone, did you mean to say that in a tone of voice that makes me feel a little defensive, or did you mean to say that to rile me up, or, you know, ask them about their intentions, because a lot of times people say things in a tone of voice, and I have been so guilty of this. It's not what I said, it's how
How
I
you
said
said.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not what I said. The words written down are fine. It's the tone of voice
Mm-hmm.
that I may have said it in that was
Yeah.
really uncalled for. And
Yeah.
I have been guilty of that in the past. And so I try to ask people, you know, what did you really mean by that statement or that question or whatever you're saying, before I just assume that it's derogatory or accusatory or whatever, you know?
Okay.
Let's see. We got some comments in the chat here. Um, First, Rita says, I just emailed Vent to someone works wonders. And then Denise says, that's a good one. Change your conversation. Rita says, find something positive to do. Then she says, repeat back to the person what you heard them say. It is how you say something. And then Nancy says, yes, that was how my husband was. His tone was bad. Yeah.
Yes.
You know, sometimes when you're talking to people using text, you can't see body language or facial expressions.
Yeah.
So
Or hear the
sometimes
tone.
words come off to be truly, some of them come off to be condescending and ignorant.
And
at
the same
times.
goes for emails too. You know, they
Yeah,
always,
emails too. Yeah. And
yeah.
it can be totally misunderstood. And I've learned over the years, I've gotten where well, maybe they didn't mean this the way they said it because I can't see body language.
Right.
You know, one of the things that I've noticed and I'm really working on is when Bill and I are out somewhere and we get separated, or Bill calls me and I'm busy doing something, how I answer that phone when he has his own ringtone. It's the
Yeah.
Navy fight song. So I know automatically when the ringtone goes off that it's Bill. Without even touching my phone, I know it's Mr. Wonderful calling me, right? And
Yep.
if I'm in the middle of something and he knows it, I can answer the phone. Yes, Bill. What, honey? Or or I can answer, hey babe, what's up?
Yep.
Do you guys hear the difference in all of that?
Uh-huh.
Oh
Yep.
yeah,
And
big difference. Yeah.
and I am choosing more deliberately these days to answer, hey babe, what's up?
Yep.
Or, you know, to smile and lift my
Yeah.
voice,
Yep.
even if he's annoying the stew out of me. You know, he doesn't deserve that attitude or that tone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
You know, he doesn't deserve that. He is my husband. He is the love of my life. And how I react to him bounces back to me. If I and I have in the past said, yes, Bill, and he'll say, well, excuse me. And then, you know, we'll get into it. And
Right.
whose fault was that?
Yours.
Mine.
Mhm.
Maybe he was calling to bless me with something, to tell me
Yeah.
about something great. But instead, I answered, so, you know, yeah,
Sometimes the telephone
human.
really irritates me, you know. Somebody's calling like, and I want to say what on the other end, but I never ever do it. You know. Let's see.
want it to be presentable.
Heidi says it makes a big difference. True. It is always action reaction. And then Rita says, hubbies would never go to the store and call to ask what they are supposed to get, even if you give them a list. No, they would never do that. Now, my husband will call and say, he'll call me from the store if he's unclear about something. He does do that.
Yeah,
Nancy,
Kevin,
I
Miss
love
Luda
your
does that too.
replacement of words.
My what?
She says she loves your replacement of words.
Oh. Yeah, well, you know, I want to keep him around. He's not number one or number two.
Yep.
So I want to keep this one. He's a good one, and I want to keep him. And the fact of the matter is, most of the time it's me.
Yep.
Really and truly, most of the time it's me. I know this about me. So, all right. So that was
Be quiet.
so this skill involves practicing effective communication and responding to things
Quiet.
without getting hostile or angry. And can you think of some examples of this skill? And I gave you a real life one, you know, hello.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, let's
Yeah.
go to the last one so that we have a little bit of time to, you know, talk about this whole time together. The last one is adjust your expectations. The main reason many people become upset is because of a specific outcome they were expecting that did not come to pass. When you do not get something that you expected, it can cause frustration. That often leads to anger. Frustration often leads to anger. This skill, adjusting your expectations, helps individuals learn to adjust to difficult situations and people. What are some ways to adjust expectations before, during, and or after a situation? And I think my last example is one, but what have y'all thought of?
I had a recent thing happen, and I'm not going to say who with, but I'm having to learn to stop making it about myself. That's really hard because you don't know you're making it about, or I didn't realize I was making it about myself. And the conversation deteriorated, you know, it went down the toilet. And then I got to thinking about it, and I talked to someone, I asked someone a question, and I had literally did make it about myself and didn't even know I was making it about myself.
Y'all, I apologize for my jerkiness here. Hands asleep.
So yeah, don't make it about yourself when it comes to some whatever it is. It's yeah, 'cause it might not be about you at all. Any input, Danny?
I was trying to think of an example, and I can't come up with one. I know there is one because Lord knows I am not perfect.
Yeah.
But
Now,
for
when I'm
some
giving
reason,
to
it's
someone,
just
I don't
not
expect anything.
jumping at me.
Yeah. Rita says for her, she does not expect something in return. Rita says, kitty tree. I love that. Huh?
Oh, in the background. Yeah.
Oh, got you. Hey, Kevin, what's up? Mr. Kevin came to visit our live.
Hi, Kevin.
You know, they say try not to have any expectations at all, but that is really hard to do.
It
It's
is.
really, really hard to do. I mean, it depends on the situation, I guess, too. Like, you know, what the scenario is, whether to, you know, have expectations. I have often been told that I have too high of expectations, especially with regards to things about work and stuff like that. And, you know, it's difficult to,
You know what I
like
had
I
to
was saying
learn?
earlier, you know, you have to remember that someone is not going to necessarily do something the exact same way that you do it, as long as they get to the same result. That's what's important.
And I
And
think
unless
that's
of
a
course,
really
you know,
good
it's
subject.
with regards to like safety or things like that. But you know, that's the most important thing is just getting to that same result. It's kind of like the example I made about the, you know, the kitchen and cooking. It's just because somebody did it differently doesn't necessarily make it wrong. And so it's important that we um curate our expectations or curve our expectations um in a way that still is accepting of other people's uniqueness and their ability to do something different. Just because they've done it differently doesn't necessarily make it wrong.
Yeah.
Which is something I am very working on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am definitely not good at that myself. So
You know that thing that I said at the very beginning about when I was a child and I would think thoughts and I didn't know that that was called thinking thoughts and I didn't know everybody had them and could do that?
Yeah.
Um, we don't know what we don't know. And I have learned that not everybody can do what I can do, and I can't do what everybody else does.
Not everybody think like you think.
Right. I didn't know that. Okay, I'm not saying this to pat myself on the back. This is just some self-disclosure here. I made good grades in school, and I rarely studied, and I rarely did homework. I mean, I did my homework, but I rarely studied. I just did my homework and I listened in class, and I made very good grades. My sister would spend hours studying down in her room, and I would like, I'm going out to play. I'm done, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that not everybody could do things. I mean, it didn't come easy to everybody until I got in college and really had to study.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to study. It wasn't enough to just sit in that college class. I had to actually study,
You had to apply
read,
yourself. Yeah.
and I didn't know how. Well, you know, that's kind of how it is um, with communicating too, right? Don't you think?
Yep.
I agree. Yeah.
We don't know what we don't know.
Yep.
So while we're at the end here, I'd really like to ask you to think about one thing that you learned from our time together, or maybe you knew it and it was reinforced or reiterated to you, because there's really nothing new under the sun, y'all, you know?
Yeah.
There's not. And so can you name one thing that you learned or had reiterated or reinforced from today's time together?
The part where we were talking about the anger part is very enlightening.
Which part? It was all about anger.
Well, what I mean is, you put me on the spot. Now I can't think of what I was going to say.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It'll come to you. You'll think of it. Just shout it out when you do. So
Okay.
everybody in the chat, can you think of something?
Let's see. I don't necessarily know that I would say that I've learned anything, but I did appreciate our conversation about um the different emotions that can be involved with anger, and that it's not necessarily just anger. And I also appreciated the conversation about the physical attributes that anger can cause.
Yeah.
Because as we were talking about it, and as we were thinking about it, and as I'm thinking, you know, because again, don't want to be selfish here, but as you're thinking about yourself and your own reactions to things, and then when you kind of flipped it on us and said, think about, one of your loved ones and how they react and how they um,
Yeah.
deal with anger, that kind of was a little bit of an eye opener for me. Like I knew how Mr. Wizard, because I use Mr. Wizard as my example, and I know how he reacts, but I guess I never really put the two together that we react the same, and so now it's like, okay, that kind of makes sense now as to why we have some communication issues sometimes, because we're both trying to avoid the conversation because we don't want to get angry or be yelling or anything else, and that's not necessarily healthy, and that's why maybe we need to have a different way of thinking about it. So I don't necessarily know that I mean, I guess it was something that I learned, um but I really appreciated that part of the conversation, like flipping it. They say empathy. Flip it on its head, or walk a day in somebody else's shoes and try and see it from a different perspective. And sometimes when you think about things from somebody else's perspective, you kind of realize your own perspective a little bit more, and realize that maybe you're, like you said, maybe you're coming off, maybe your tone is not correct, or maybe you're doing something different. So doing that exercise was really helpful. I feel like, yeah.
In the chat, there's some comments here. Hang on, let me back it up. Um, First, Mona says, good live to share. I don't know which she was talking about, us or Tuber Chat. Okay, Rita says, what I do is reward myself, whether it is buying fabric or going through books or something that we reward ourselves with. She says she can only do and think for her, not everyone else. We are responsible for our own reactions to things. And then Terry says, Danny, not everyone has the same work ethics. I have to chalk it up to that. Address what needs to be addressed. Raven
That
says,
is true.
don't know what you don't know. If you never saw something different, you don't know that exists. And Nancy says, y'all made this feel normal.
Well, that's because it is
Mona,
normal.
yeah. No, Mona said, discussing anger issues made it more real and soothing to talk about. Yes.
Good.
Raven says, for me, it made it acceptable to admit. Mona 2.0. There's that. That's what I was looking for earlier today. And then Mona says, agree, Nancy. And yes to Raven. And then Rita says, anger is a hard one, as I have a very short fuse, so keeping anger in check is hard. For me, it helps to watch this great community we have, even if it's just listening to someone sew or talk. And then Heidi says the difference between anger and annoyance. I could so relate to that. Sorry for my spelling. It's not my first language. She's in Belgium, so she speaks French, I think. Or unless Belgium has its own language. Raven says it's fine, Heidi. Don't apologize. We are happy you are here. Definitely.
Absolutely.
And then Terry says, keep life simple, expect little, give the benefit of the doubt, exercise patience. It can work wonders.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So,
For sure.
so when in the next week might you use some of the skills we've discussed?
Yeah.
And practice today? Or who will you share these new skills with?
Yep.
Well, for me, I've been off of work for the last week, and I go back to the office on Monday, so I'm definitely going to be practicing them on Monday.
Oh, girl, I feel for you.
There's a whole week of cleanup to do, so I'm really going to be practicing.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll
man.
bet. I can imagine. It's kind of like Nikolai when he went back to work this last time. This is a good example, actually. His crew, his skipper and him and everybody he works with, when they were handed the ship over, the ship was a disaster.
Yeah.
It was wrecked. It was dirty. They spent 4 or 5 days in port because of stuff that the other team didn't take care of. And it was just a whole big hot melting pot of mess. And instead of everybody getting all screaming and yelling, and they got on with things, dealt with all of it, got their butts out of port, and while they were on their way to their destination, They were still fixing all the mess that was left for them to deal with. And yes, they weren't very happy about it. Nikolai said that everybody was very unhappy about it, but they got it all cleared up and cleaned up and dealt with. And I think the biggest reward for all of them was the fact that they had a good tour, because they ended up making a ton of money out of it, despite
Ooh.
all the negative crap that was given to them at the
Aw.
beginning of their tour.
That is so awesome.
Yeah. And
So
they
they took
haven't
something
made this
negative
amount of
and turned
money
it
in a
into a
long
positive.
time. Yeah. You know, because people could have just had to ask the whole time they were out there, you know. And they didn't. They pushed
Why do
right
we have
through
to
it.
clean up this mess? Why do we have
Yeah.
to fix what they
Yeah,
didn't
why are we
do?
dealing? Yeah, why are they not in trouble for their, why are they not being, yeah. Instead, they just
Yeah.
got on with it and dealt with it. And when they turned the ship back over to that bad team, the ship was clean and fixed and everything. Nothing was wrong with it. So
Well, that's kind of like camping, you know, you try to leave your campsite better than you found it
yeah.
in some small way. My daddy taught me that from when I was a little kid. You leave it better
Mm-hmm.
than when you found it, you
Yep.
know? That's just what you do.
And then
Guys, I really appreciate y'all letting me go through this little time together.
yeah, there's more comments, by the way. Rita says, so that explains it, Katie and Danny, making me work on my patience. And Raymond says, I plan not to be in a situation that I need to practice in. And then Mona says, I sharing right now with hubby. And amen to Raven. And then Terry says, comes back to work ethic. Some people don't care. Yeah. And Raven says, Terry, expect nothing for your own mental health, not because you should expect less. And then Raven says to Mona 2.0, I am in a tiny up north in a country of 14,000. They're really nice people. And then, hey, Jen. And then Mona 2.0 says, Boy Scout and Girl Scout motto, have the campsite or leave the campsite better. And Nancy says, as mom would say, two wrongs don't make a right. Yeah.
That's true.
Exactly. So they took something negative and turned it into something really positive. And they got rewarded by having 3 big loads. So, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah. Anyone else got anything they want to add to this discussion before we say goodbye? So next go around, we'll have a topic of I need to make a form so we can get some feedback from them. Listen, I'm going to make a form and I'll have me and Myra, Danny will work on one together on what we want to ask you guys. And then if you don't mind, maybe on our next live, I can share the form link and you go over and fill it out. Anything you say on that form is private. The only people who will see it is us. It will not be shown out on the internet, but we want to get some feedback so that we can see where we want to take this in future lives. Because, mental health is an ongoing, lifelong thing.
Right. And it needs to be relevant to everybody that's here,
Yeah,
for sure.
Definitely. So we want to get some feedback from you to see if there's things that we've missed that we haven't talked about. Because there's 2 things I want to say here to all of y'all. This place is a safe place, and you're allowed to come in here and say, this happened to me today, and I don't know how to handle it. Please, yeah, you can do that. It's safe, and we will try to help as we can. Or if you need to talk about something that we haven't discussed, please open it up and say, hey, can we talk about this? Because, without talking about it, how are we going to know how to help? Right?
Right, exactly.
So you're welcome to take me off spotlight and put yourself on.
Oh, yeah. I've been off spot. I'm hiding. No, I'm not. There we go. All right.
Thank you.
So, Our next live will be on, let me look at the date, because we've been moving them around a little bit to compensate for things. So the one for April is going to be on, I have it scheduled for the 19th of April, and it will be later again. Let me explain why these lives are being later currently. It's because I'm involved in I'm in a collab with Sherry from because we're doing a so long, so I'm involved in that right now. And there was a conflict of time, so I had to move our Peace of Mind Mending Pieces to a little bit later. Probably by the second week in July, that will be done. And when that's done, then we can go back to the 4:30 Eastern Standard Time we had been doing, because I like that time frame.
Okay, it'll be 6:30 again.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah, 6:30 Eastern Standard. Yep. If you're on in Panama City, it'll be 5:30.
Right.
Unless you guys like this, I mean, Danny and you, Myra, unless you like this later time frame, you know, if you want.
I do prefer the earlier time frame. Just
I like
because
the
of my
earlier one too,
eating
because it means we
schedule.
get off sooner. And
I don't like eating in front of people.
I don't think they saw you eat anything tonight.
We did not see you eat, but I
No,
haven't
because-
eaten yet.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, Rachel wants to see Addison. Hopefully, you didn't hear me chomping away.
Denise says, I would not put anything in a reel in an internet chat. Comment may stop you from getting insurance coverage or a job. Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Come here, Eddie. Come here, Eddie.
I want
Well,
people to feel free to talk. And I can, and one thing about this live, I can always not
There's Addison.
post the chat itself. Just the live, I can shut down the chat part where no one can read it after the live. But I haven't been doing that. But I can turn that off if need be. If we have a serious discussion one night, I can make sure that that doesn't appear on the where people can read what goes on in the chat. I'm not even sure if people actually go and read the chats when they're watching replays.
but you read what they've written, and so it's still out there.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of this, we say
we do.
We cannot. We do not. There is no confidentiality.
That's right.
If you're going to share,
that is true.
Now, if you need to share and you need confidentiality, then you email or you private message one of us or all of us or whatever. And those we can guard and guarantee confidentiality on something like that. But in a live, no.
Mona 2.0 says, Myra, you are beautiful and thank you. And then Raven says, Myra is the superstar.
No.
Myra did a great job from Heidi.
Thank you.
Rita says, as the saying goes, say it, forget it, write it, look out. Yeah. I don't want anyone to be scared to come in here and discuss with us. We set this up so we could discuss, and we have given information at the beginning saying this is out for the whole world to see it. So, and yes, I know there, and Rita says, just email Vince a certain someone, haha. I know who she's talking about. And then let me see. Raven says, anger, I think, is what I got the gist of. Yeah. I loved that we talked about anger tonight because that one really stuck out for me on that subject.
I thought that would be the one you would pick.
Yeah, it was either that or pick the other one, which there was 3 of them that I stood out. But I really wanted to talk about the anger since we've been talking a lot about it on and off for the past few months. So All right. And then Rita says it is actually say it, forget it, write it, regret it.
Could be.
Anyone else? Did you go cut your hair?
No,
Oh, okay.
no,
It's been a
no.
while
I
since I've
just
seen it
put it
down. It's
behind
gotten
me.
long.
I'm gonna go get a spiral perm in April so that
It's
I
gonna look
don't have to do
beautiful.
anything. What?
It's gonna look beautiful.
Oh, well, it'll be easier to deal with. I'm going on a cruise in May, and that way I won't have to do anything to it, and still look cute. And then when we go over the pond to Scotland and Ireland in July, yeah, I won't have to do much to it because it'll still be there because I hold them a good 6 to 8 months.
Yeah,
So
good. And I'm thankful that Heidi was able to join us too. What, baby?
Hopefully not too cute.
Huh?
Hopefully not too cute.
You'll have
What'd
to
he
whisper
say?
that in her ear.
What did he say?
He said, hopefully not too cute. Naughty man. You're
I
so
want you guys.
naughty.
I just want to see
I-
her reaction.
Well, you know you were going to get a reaction.
For everybody in the chat, Danny and Katie as well, I thank you all for the kind words. Just please know that I'm really not special. Most social workers / therapists, counselors are going to be a lot like me. And so if you need, help and, a social worker should be one of your best go-tos. I'm proud to be a professional social worker,
So
and
yeah.
I'm grateful to have my licensure as a mental health professional. And so thank you for letting me spend some time with y'all.
Well, I
Because
appreciate you stepping up to the plate.
retirement is not all it's cracked up to be.
No, I'm sure it's not.
It
And
is great.
I really appreciate that you can come and share your perspective with both me and Danny because it helps us carry the conversation better. Danny, thank you for everything, along with Myra. And you guys in June when I come back at the end, probably early July, Katie might have purple hair.
Oh, that'll be fun. Fun.
Because I think I'm going to, what do you call it? What's the word when someone climbs outside the box and does something naughty?
That's not naughty.
Rebel.
Rebel. There you go. I'm going to be rebellious and do something strange to my hair.
That's
That'll be
not
fun.
naughty. That's adventurous.
Yeah, because I've never done anything to my hair.
I'm
So I'm on
refraining.
a perm, but I don't see how we can do a perm and a hair color in 2 weeks. I don't think
You
that's possible.
cannot.
No.
No,
So
my
we have to
husband would
sacrifice the
prefer.
perm for the color.
Well, my husband would prefer that I color my hair and get rid of my glitter. And I'm not willing to do that. I would rather have a perm.
Yeah. Well, my glitter's just gonna, all the glittery spots is what's the purple's gonna be on.
It's gonna
And then
be
I'll
so
leave my
cute.
dark stuff alone. You know,
That'll be fun.
it'll
Katie,
be fun.
I hate to leave you, but
Yep.
my
Thank
dogs
you,
are getting
sweetie,
more and
for
more
coming.
insistent that they have dinner.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Thank you, everyone, for tonight. Remember to live, laugh, love, and dream. What do you do with that? You do something beautiful, or you go do something beautiful for someone else to put a smile on their face, because you never know. It might change their whole world. Good night,
There you
everyone.
go.
Good night, y'all. Love you.
Good night.
Let me stop this live. Don't leave yet, Myra. I want to talk to you for a minute.
You betcha.
Well, I am going to take off, ladies. You have a good evening, rest of your
Thank
evening,
you,
rest of your
hon. I
weekend, and I
appreciate
will talk to you
Danny.
again really soon. I'm sorry
Thank
about the
you.
whole faux pas with this month, Katie. I